Thank you. Hi, everybody. I have to say I'm quite overwhelmed to be here and speaking with, to be on this panel. So thank you very much, Bronwyn. I'd like to acknowledge the traditional owners. Thank you so much, Jodie, for your welcome this morning. I actually have some presents. So I wanted to give you, Jodie, a t-shirt. So we sell t-shirts, and all of my co-presenters a t-shirt as well. So I'll give you all one later. I may not have all the right sizes, but there. So I'll come around afterwards though. Okay. So you all have to tweet well about me now because I'm giving presents. All right. So. Okay, so my name's Leesa Watego. I'm from Brisbane, which is, for folks outside of Australia, that's probably, if you drive like me, 12 hours north. That's north. If you drive like my other people, it's probably 15 to 20 hours. So a little bit more. Head that way, drive that way, 100k, at 100 k's an hour. Thank you so much for having me. So I'm from Brisbane. My family are South Sea Islanders from the Loyalty Islands and Murray, northern New South Wales area. But I was born and raised in Brisbane. A lot of our family are up and down the east coast, but mostly I'm a Brisbane girl. I've lived a little bit in North Queensland, in Cairns, and on the Cape as well. But pretty much I'm a Brisbane black. So, and thank you very much for having me. People always ask me what I do, and it's really, I never quite know how to answer the question. Right now I run Iscariot Media Proprietary Limited, which is probably the third version of business that I started a business in '94 when I finished uni. I didn't want to work for the public service. I got offered a GAA position with ATSIC. That's how old I am. I'm probably nearly one of the oldest presenters, if not, yeah. I got a graduate position after uni, supposed to be working for ATSIC, but I was like, nah. And we'd already started our business, so a sister and I were teaching Aboriginal studies in northern New South Wales. And so that was our first little business, because business can give you a lot of freedom. You make your own days, you do your own stuff. And eventually, over time, I had some children, went back to work a little bit as an academic, had a few more children, kept the business going, and eventually what we have now is Iscariot Media. Dark and Disturbing is a curatorial project of my business partner and my husband, Vernon Arkey, so he's an Aboriginal artist. So Dark and Disturbing is his curatorial vision, and we manage and create all the t-shirts, which is I See Deadly People and a few others. I also do the Critical Classroom, which is educational resources. So that's primarily a blog. I don't do a lot of consulting and things. It just gives me an opportunity to just write what I want to write. We sell a few products as well. And then, of course, there's Deadly Bloggers. And then we do other stuff like build websites for folks and things like that. I'm focusing less on social media, and probably more on blogs. So for the first part of my presentation, I'm going to talk a little bit about Deadly Bloggers and how it evolved. And then I'm going to raise a few questions. My personal blog is called Not Quite Cooked, which I think is a really accurate description of myself or how I see the world. I have very few answers to anything. I like to ask questions. So I'm like, what the hell does this mean? So the whole time I'm listening to the presentations, I'm like, oh, okay, so my brain's going crazy because it's just like, there are so many questions to ask. So if I end up at the end of the presentation with no firm conclusion, my conclusion will be questions, probably. This is a quote that I often start with by Anita Heiss. Anita is a Koori author. Current writings by Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people belong within a cultural and historical continuity that predates the invasion, whilst utilising, adapting and challenging the written genres and forms of colonising culture. I think that quote, I can't remember where I found it. I think it was in the Pen anthology, the Macquarie anthology of Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander literature that she co-wrote with Peter Minter. I think that's where it's coming, but for me, that's a really interesting way of framing the sorts of discussion that I like to have about deadly bloggers. So, of course, I'm not saying anything new. You guys know this. Mainstream media frames indigeneity, frames Indigenous issues in a particular way that are unrepresentative of the way in which we see the world and the way in which we enact the world. So here are just some examples. But as Professor Aileen Morton-Robinson, Strati Murray often says, we have been portrayed as negligent and abusive parents, extremely violent, sexually abusive, corrupt, alcoholic, substance abusers and bludgers on welfare suffering from cultural dysfunction. And we know that's not our life, right? So how did Deadly Bloggers start? It started, I found the internet. I'd created my own website probably in around about the year 2000. You could buy templates and you could put your own text in and do a bit of stuff. I didn't know how to code. So it was about 2000, maybe 2003. So I built my own website. Looking back now, I'm like, it would have looked terrible, but it's what I built. I built it myself. But that was for our business, which was then called Black Lines Publications. That was the first version of our, second version of our Indigenous education resources. In about 2008, I discovered this thing called social media, which was kind of rediscovering what the internet is now. I sometimes think social media isn't really, it's a kind of an odd term because social media is now just the internet. You know, it's not a thing. This is the internet now. It's like we drop e-learning from learning. You got learning and e-learning. It's just if you're in an institution and you have an academic and you're running a course, you have stuff that's face-to-face and you have stuff that's online. There's no learning and e-learning. Commerce, e-commerce, you don't need the term e-commerce because everybody has a website now for their businesses. So it's kind of a redundant term in some ways. But as I said, I discovered it about 2008 and I started my first blog. I can't remember what I called it and I don't know where it is. I think I deleted it. One of those, what am I doing? Oh, some days I say I'm a blogger, other days I just say I have a blog. So it's kind of like, you know, I get kind of emotional, which is why I don't work for institutions. So it started as a blog roll on the sidebar of my personal blog. And I just find another blackfellow who had a blog. So I think Sandy O'Sullivan had a blog. So I added Sandy on and then just random people would start, you know, and then I'd find it, go, oh cool, you know, another blackfellow, let's just read it. So I'd have it on the side there. Then I start, you know, around about that time, of course, found Twitter, and then I just used the hashtag dailybloggers. Then I created its own blog, so it was dailybloggers.blogspot.com. So Blogger is a great platform if you're starting out. It's free. You don't have to use, or it's free as in Google owns it. You get to lease it. Then I created its own Twitter handle, its own Twitter account, then a Facebook page, Google Plus page, whatever that is now, and eventually a self-hosted WordPress site. So it's gone through a bunch of steps and I never set out, kind of like what Luke was talking about, I was just happy to find another blackfellow who had a blog because I didn't know what I was doing. I didn't know what to write about and I didn't know how to make my blog look good. I was just happy that other blackfellows had blogs. So and then before you know it, it became this thing. I had no idea, I don't monetize it apart from the odd talk I do it for university students. So it's just this thing that I just kind of do and it's kind of taken off. You know, it is what it is. But yeah, it started off from nothing really, with no focus. A couple of years ago, I did a small research survey. Of course, being the occasional academic means I actually don't have a job anywhere, you know, in an academy anywhere. And so I have no funding. So I created a Google form and just created a survey and then just hit people up and said, can you answer these questions? So I have this small research tool that I use. I actually think it was for a presentation for Sandra Phillips, Dr. Sandra Phillips. She asked me to do a lecture about deadly bloggers and I went, well, what am I going to say? I don't know what they think. I don't know. So I did a research survey. So I just want to run through some of the things that folks talked about. Only a small percentage of Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people actually blog. A few years ago when Facebook became mainstream, for a lot of people, Facebook is the internet. I have a couple of friends, like super smart, you know, been to university, everything, and they're like, What do you mean? How do you get a link onto Facebook? They thought you can only share things that other people had posted. I'm like, oh, sister, truly. Like, she actually didn't realise that she could get the link from somewhere, from the article, or get the URL and put it onto Facebook and start sharing her own content. She was could only experience it in the stuff that she had seen from the people in her feed. So for a lot of people, Facebook is the internet. That's all folks have access to. And this particular sister, the majority of her Facebook is done on her phone because she has $30 a month prepaid from Woolies. That's her data allowance. So your experience of the internet is very different when you have not even an iPhone, it's a cheap Android phone and it's $30 a month. Your experience of what the internet can do for you and what you can share and how you share stuff is very different from me. It's all tax write-off for me. I have a Mac Mini, I've got 3 screens, I have unlimited download. So I'm on the computer, some days literally 18 hours a day doing all of the things that I do. So my experience of the internet, where I'm creating content, I use Creative Suite, I use Photoshop, Illustrator, all that stuff. I'm creating content and making new stuff. My experience of the internet and what that world is very different from this world. And it's very understandable why not a lot of people have their own spaces, have their own blogs, if that's all you have. And why would so many folks use Facebook? The majority of the platforms that folks use are Blogger and WordPress. There's a few that have self-hosted. I should probably update this. There are a few more that have self-hosted. Does everybody understand what self-hosted means? So when you have, I'll just run through it quickly. So if you have nothing, which is where we all start out, no money, you just go to wordpress.com or you go to blogger.com, you sign in with your email address and a password and you have a blog. The company that owns that platform owns the platform, right? So they take care of everything. You don't pay for anything, but you don't own anything either. But it doesn't cost you anything. You don't have to do the maintenance. Your landlord does that. Google does it or WordPress does it for you. They're your landlords. Your other option is to have a self-hosted site. That's where you buy a domain name and you actually buy some server space. You get a developer or you do it yourself and you create the website yourself. Okay, so there's 2 different versions. If you're going to get serious and your stuff, Indigenous X is self-hosted now, so that's its own website. Luke owns the content that's on there. He can control it. On the other versions where it's leased, where the landlord owns the space, someone can report you. Someone can report you. We could all get together and say we hate Celeste. We go all report it and Google will close down the account and that's it. And you have very little way to get it back. There's no backups or anything. Oh, you can back it up though. You can back up your blog. But very few people are on self-hosted WordPress, self-hosted sites. They're expensive to run. They can be expensive to run. You're looking for maintenance costs, server costs, the whole thing. You've got to pay someone. A few months ago, Deadly Bloggers was massively attacked by spam and I had all this, it was crazy. I had all this secret code was written into it and spent hours and hours fixing it up. So with the responsibility of owning your own property, there comes all of these other jobs versus when you just pay, when the landlord takes care of it all. Only a small percentage have more than one blog and all are self-taught. Though I'm not sure how you don't go to university to be a blogger, it's just one of those things. The other interesting thing is that our bloggers blog on all kinds of things. So feminism, Indigenous issues. I just brought some up here before. Here's our directory. So we have academic blogs, arts and crafts, business, design, fashion and lifestyle, education, feminism, game, new media, tech, health, language, history, culture, leadership, music, musicians, news media, personal politics. There are folks blogging about all kinds of stuff. There are people who talk about, my man left me stuff, which doesn't really interest me. I'm not their audience, of course, but that's what they write about. Then there's folks who are changing the world and writing about serious issues. We have one new blogger who writes about, does anybody play Star Trek online? Anybody like Star Trek? We have one blogger who writes on Star Trek every day, every couple of days, Star Trek Online posts about Star Trek Online, the video game. So people, and this is part of the story of Deadly Bloggers. It's about that people post about all kinds of things because, shock horror, Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people are actually human who have all kinds of different interests. Who knew, right? Who knew? And I do get occasionally subtweeted by people who go, oh my God, those blogs are about nothing. A certain right-wing-ish leader in our community goes, I wish they'd write about things that are important, because of course we promote all of the Deadly Bloggers. So every day we go, oh, it's a new post by so-and-so, and it could be on the gammonest thing for me, like the latest version of the ship in Star Trek Online. But that's what they're writing about. I'm not going to judge people about what they write about. Yeah. So, I don't know where I am now. Where's my present? Sorry, I use Google Docs all the time. Oh, look out. View, present. So they write about everything. Then we have people like Anita Heiss, who's very strategic. She's an author, and she's very business savvy about the way that she posts and the way that she promotes herself as an author and her career. So there's folks that are writing about all kinds of stuff. Why do you blog? So I asked people what was their intention? Like why are you doing this? For some it was about an expression. They were talking about their stories, their life, the things that they love, stuff like that. We have the personal blogging section is probably the largest. Strategic, so there I'm talking more about people like Anita, who are really strategic about how they about the types of things that they blog, the way that they blog and when they blog. So she'll talk about, I've just spoken at the Commonwealth Bank Women in Business conference or something. So she's very strategic about how she does it, and she's actually written about it at an Australia Council Marketing Summit a few years ago, where she explicitly outlined her approach. For some folks, it was about activism, which is a similar thing to what we've heard today, and for some folks, it's about professional sort of vision, which is about income generation. I talked about, so what impact has blogging had on your life? For some it was about professional success. We have one blogger in Canberra who blogs about it's like fashion stuff, and she actually launched an online magazine. And so it's sort of fashion and a little bit of love life stuff. You wouldn't necessarily know that she was Indigenous though. So for some folks, they're very specifically Indigenous blogs. For others, you wouldn't know if you didn't know. I kind of know because you can I know people who are blogging because I catch different Twitter conversations. Well, this was the early days, not so much now because Twitter's so busy, but you used to be able to catch people and sort of work out that they were black, have a yarn with them, and then we could add them to the list. Professional writing gigs, increased credibility, speaking engagements, publishing contracts. For some people it was about skills development, becoming a better writer, making deeper connections. For other people it's more about impacting on national culture, and I think I might come back to that one in a little bit later. Some blogs have been archived in Pandora, which is the national archive of the country. So Pandora's was that Trove? No. Pandora, that's the national one. Have you been archived? Just, yes. Yeah, I've got an email. Wait, someone wants to. It's like, I'll do it later. And then for some folks, it's just about the personal. I have my own voice, and I want to say something. So that's kind of the, you know that feeling you get. I don't know. It might just be me, but sometimes it'd be something that just makes you wild. You write it down, and then you go to the shops feeling deadly. It's like, oh, yeah, nobody knows what you did, but you feel deadly, like, I did that. We talked a little bit, I asked people about racism and discrimination. Only a small number of folks had said that they had experienced discrimination or racism. That may have changed. Okay, so Twitter's a different space to what it was a few years ago when I originally asked these questions. And Luke is talking tomorrow about this stuff, so that'll be really interesting, yeah. And I talked about, do you self-censor your posts? And some folks were saying, yeah, they do, but for most part, they don't. And quite often it's the comment section you want to stay away from. Oh, this was just if you had advice to give to people about racism, just be careful and be mindful of what you're talking about. If your personal safety is an issue, then you should consider it. And I always say that to people who are getting into social media and they're not really sure about it. If you have a safety issue, like as in you have issues in your real world that you need protection from, then you need to take that into consideration. For all me saying you should be on social media, building your personal brand and all that sort of stuff, you need to be mindful of the real world implications of that. There's talking about goals of people who are blogging. Some would like to build an app, products, become professional, earn an income, that kind of stuff. So everybody had different goals, Oh, the biggest hurdle for blackfellas in the blogosphere, the technology and access were kind of the biggest things. Also things about having the time to actually do it. Like Luke, this is a self-funded gig. There's no pot of money out there that's, giving you time to think. Like everybody's activism, like everybody's creative work, you're just doing it most people are just doing it on the smell of an oily rag. Oh yeah, and then some people talked about being pigeonholed as an Indigenous blogger, as if Indigenous people are only allowed to talk about X, or Y. They're only allowed to talk about, one specific set of topics. And if suddenly you get off the political sort of thing, you're not seen as, it impacts somewhat in some way. So people were concerned about that. Oh yeah, so because of blogging, they felt less alone and that kind of stuff. And you can have a quick read of that. One of the things so for me, Deadly Bloggers has been an interesting journey. I probably put in about, these days, I have to admit, probably barely an hour a week anymore. It's been really, really difficult. And I think, as somebody who's just starting this thing and who's just started this thing and I was never quite sure of what it was going to be, it's been tricky to kind of be able to say, I'm going to put X amount of hours into it. Because, I have a family to feed, I've got jobs to do and clients to service and that kind of stuff. So it's actually been quite tricky. In the early days, it was a lot more, but now it's and every now and then I get these bursts of, oh, that's right, blogs are really important. So I come back to it every now and then. But I wanted to talk a little bit about reterritorialisation, just because that's a crazy name, Bronwyn, and I don't know what it means. So I've probably spent more time thinking about that word and going, what the hell? I'm going to say something really smart. So I've been looking at conceptualizations of social media. I've been thinking about this idea of, how is it that if social media and computers are just like a tool, did we reterritorialise washing machines? Did we reterritorialise the stove? Like how does that work? And I'm missing some theory here because I actually don't have any time to go and find theory. And I think there's probably stuff out there that's actually done this work. And, one day when I'm back in an institution, I'll have access to the databases that we don't have access to. But this idea of social media as a form of personal communication, I really get annoyed with the real world, digital world dichotomy, this binary. You're either doing this or you're doing that. I mean, from my own personal experience, I'm having conversations with people online through a digital format when we're in the same room. It's crazy, right? That just sounds bizarre. And I'm 46 years old, so I'm not one of the young people who do, I'm not like the youth who do social media a particular way, because youth do social media like this and oldies do it like this. Well, we're doing it all the time. But as a form of personal communication, what's really interesting is the way in which many people have just simply incorporated it into their everyday life. So I have a group of friends who are all my age and a little bit older. And when I log back into my phone later on, I'm not even going anywhere near the thread, but there's 122 messages waiting for me because we got a Facebook group chat. So I'll be yarning, and we'll be yarning about stuff. and we just keep going, and we're all the same age and we're all working and doing stuff. So what's really interesting is the way that I think there's work to be done there in terms of how it is that we're using it in our everyday life. Getting away from the real world digital binary, getting away from the youth do it only and old people don't. Yeah. Us oldies can do it too. No, yeah. You know, and I mean, one example of it is where we recently had a bit of a family issue and I really needed to talk to some friends. So I started this super secret Facebook group, and now I've got all these Murray mums, and we're hammering out this issue. You know, so like I'm actually nowhere near them physically, but it's completely trusted space. But we're hammering it out and working it out, which way, what are we going to do? And it's a complete support group. So, but it was just, and it lived for that issue, and it's just laying there dormant. So I think social media is a form of personal communication that amplifies or adds to another layer to it. I think is a really interesting area of study. I'm not saying anything new when I say social media is an activist space. You know, this whole idea that, you know, and people, the slacktivist stuff, you know, you're just doing stuff on the keyboard so you're not doing anything real. I mean, I don't think that's, I absolutely don't think, it's not an either or anymore. It's a, you know, we have to think of it like as it's something that's completely linked. You know, there's the work of Sam Cooke and SOS Black Australia. I mean, she's very savvy digitally. She could create her own graphics and started this thing, and off it went, and it became this global thing. So I think as an activist space, it doesn't have to be one or the other. We should draw on the work that people from the 70s and 80s, we should draw on their work. Draw on the work of those people in that era and try and create ways of doing something that incorporates everything, because I don't think it has to be an either or. Social media is a trade route. I run a business. I do work in the Indigenous business space, and we do a lot of stuff online. We do a lot of stuff using social media. We're actually talking to other business people all the time. And then of course there's social media as a form of critical expression. I mean, and one of the first people that come to mind when I'm thinking of critical expression is Siv Parker's tweet stories. So she tells stories, and she's at the First Nations Australia Writers Network conference, and she was talking about her approach to the yarns that she does. Each yarn is 7 minutes. So what she does is she tells stories. So she'll tell a story, just a sort of semi-fictional story. She's an author. And each tweet is 156 characters long, so there's nothing shorter than 156 characters long, and each tweet is sent 7 minutes apart. And she doesn't know how the story is going to end when she starts. So she's actually using the medium in a creative way, so the story is actually created for that medium. And then she'll go and maybe turn that into a blog post. Sometimes she just grabs each tweet and turns that into a blog post eventually. So yeah, so for me, her idea of, you know, her artistic, critical artistic expression is really, she's taken hold of the Twitter platform. One of the things I get a bit frustrated about, and this is me asking questions, in 100 years' time, Alexis Wright's Carpentaria will still be accessible. Archie Roach's Charcoal Lane, we will still be able to listen to it. It's archived, it's there. You know, Gordon Bennett's Possession Island will still be visible in the National Gallery. So you've got these amazing critical artistic works that will always be available, because that's in the artistic realm. You know, Carpentaria is this massive novel, award-winning novel by an amazing Indigenous Aboriginal author. We will always have that it's in the archive of the National Library. It's in libraries everywhere around Australia. Where will my tweet be? Where will that really deadly Facebook post be? That's the bit that I go, oh, what does this all mean? What does this mean in terms of legacy that we're leaving? I can get my blog will be archived in Pandora, some folks' blogs will be archived. And Dee Race kind of raised it, you know, Facebook's actually owned by somebody else in another country that we don't have any access to. My concern, and one of the reasons why I bang on a little bit about blogging, is because you can own your own space. You don't own anything on Facebook, and you don't own anything on Twitter or and I'm on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, Snapchat. I'm on all of them, and I use them all. I love them, but I know I don't own any of those spaces. So that's what I'm interested in, is how do we archive this thing? Then my second thought is, well, maybe social media is like a midden. It's this idea of each individual, one tweet doesn't mean anything. One Instagram post doesn't mean anything. Maybe it's over time, it's the adding to this body. Everybody know what a midden is? You want a midden? Middens, yeah. So you add to this body and it creates this form. Each tweet, each Instagram post, every blog post, every @reply on Twitter, every conversation. So maybe that's the thing that's what we should look at. Maybe I should be less focused on that specific tweet or that specific picture and step back and go, well, actually, it's the whole body of work that you create that actually makes it really powerful. And perhaps, and I was just thinking this before, it is ephemeral. Not everything has to be archived. The Western knowledge production tells us that everything must be archived or conserved and they're obsessed with it. Perhaps it is ephemeral, and perhaps that's the beauty of it. Perhaps that's the thing that, I don't know. Like I said, I'm asking questions. Because the issue is what resources are needed to create that legacy? You need financial resources. It's $20 odd bucks to register your domain. It's $200 odd bucks to host your website per annum. You got to pay your developers. If something stuffs up, because things are always changing on the internet, new holes and security flaws are coming in and out all the time. You've got to get stuff fixed up. So it actually creates. Sometimes I just go, oh God, I wish I'd stayed on Blogger, because it's so easy on Blogger. But then the costs versus the benefits of that. But so perhaps what we need to be, supporting people to actually become self-hosted. If you think that it's creating an archive for yourself, maybe that's what we should be doing, supporting other folks who could do that. Oh, so this is blogging and other forms of online publication allow writers to define themselves and their Aboriginality. It can provide a space where we can play, explore, create, debate, rant, vent, satirise and philosophise in the world that we live. Online publication, like other forms of publication, are defined by particular structures. So issues of access, ownership, permanence and security all impact on the effectiveness of online publication for us, and the potential to throw down or bypass the gatekeepers of traditional publication is too great to ignore, which is why I do love this thing, even though it drives me crazy. Thank you.
So when you say deadly, what is it?
Oh my God, really? Oh, sorry. Oh, I'm so sorry. Oh. So I see deadly people means I'm looking at deadly people. They're wonderful, they're smart, they know, they got... So another phrase we sometimes come from when we come... Killer? Yeah. Another thing we sometimes say is which way. So someone who has the which way, they got the which way, they know. They may, it can be used in lots of different contexts, like, with all those kids were deadly today, they were very deadly. But then someone who's, so Dan and I might have a conversation, we go, which way, is it deadly or not? And you'd be like, mm-mm. They don't know. They don't know what they're talking about. So yeah, deadly is a good thing. Yeah. Hence deadly bloggers. Someone said to me, someone on Twitter, I don't know who it was, I can't remember, said, I don't like the use of the word deadly. Oh God. Come on. So yeah, because death. But Oh.
This is the first place that I've come that the use of blackfella has been really comfortable. Other than my white Australian North Queenslander brother-in-law and his family who say blackfella.
Oh, in a derogatory way?
If you're married into a Samoan family, don't call people blackfellas.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I don't know if it's a Queensland thing. I don't know. Is it maybe? No. It's all right. It's okay for us. It's okay. Yeah. But then again, North Queensland's really, really racist. So I don't know about your brother-in-law. You have to edit that bit out, because yeah.
Oh, there's a question at the back.
I've never really explored blogging, but do you get the same kind of relationship with your audience as you do with social media?
Oh, see, I think the thing about one of the other reasons why folks don't necessarily blog is because the hit from a Facebook like is so much. Like, Facebook is micro-blogging. So it's the same concept. You write something, you get comments. It's exactly the same concept as, it's traditional blogging, but it's micro. So Twitter, Facebook, Tumblr, they're all just micro-blogging. So it's the same sort of structure. But with I Facebook way more and tweet way more than I blog. And then sometimes I go, oh crap, I should have written that on my blog. And then I don't, because it's easy. All my family, all my friends, all my community are on Facebook. They don't necessarily read my blog unless I link them. But then again, sometimes I don't want to link it. Sometimes what's on my blog, particularly on my personal blog, I just write stuff and I don't care who reads it, but I don't necessarily tell the world that I'm actually posting it either. Yeah, the thing that makes Facebook and Instagram and Twitter easy is the instant interaction. If you've already got an existing community and you suddenly start blogging, crickets over here, you'll get nothing. You'll probably get hardly any interaction. And there's millions and millions of blogs. So there's a really good check. Some people are like, oh, I don't want to start a blog, I'm like, lovey, there's a million blogs started every day. No one's going to read yours. Don't worry about it. If you're too ashamed or not sure about what you're saying, you got heaps of time before it. You got to tell people to go there before they'll actually read it, So if you want that hit of validation, say it on Facebook. But if you want something that's actually linkable, because see, the problem with Facebook, and I always growl people, don't put that idea on Facebook. Facebook is a gated community. If you're not on Facebook, unless your relative screenshots it and send it to you, you're not going to see it. People aren't going to see it. You have to be a part of Facebook to see Facebook and to engage on Facebook. So if you really want it out in the world, put it on your blog. Put it on your own space, then link it, Otherwise, yeah, because there are still a lot of people who hate Facebook and won't go on it. Who's not on Facebook here? Oh, sister, too dilly. There's a couple of hardcore people, good on you. Yeah, the rest of us gave over to the dark side. So we're all on Facebook. So it's okay for all of us because we're all Facebook friends and we all see each other's stuff. But yeah, if you've got so many people who aren't on it, so if you've got something that's really, really good, chuck it on your blog first. Then say it again if you want to on Facebook, if you have to, but yeah. Again, it's about building that archive and that legacy, You can own your own, that's kind of my thing. That's what I'm thinking about, because I hang out with some visual artists, so it's like that work, once it's bought or once it's acquired by the institution, it's there forever, so that's, and I'm really conscious of that text. So it can become a piece of, I was reading some James Baldwin the other day, and it's like, fire next time is there forever. You can't take that away, because it's there forever and we can be sharing it. But if you put it on Facebook, you can't search on Facebook. It's like have you tried to search through Facebook? It's crazy. So yeah, I love Facebook. I use it all the time, so yeah.
No more questions? Wow.
Can I just make a comment? I love your concept of the blog as midden. I'm not completely sure everybody understands what a midden is, if they didn't know what Debbie was, but besides that, I'm really excited about it because it's kind of got that everyday utilitarian stuff about it, but it's also got the sacredness about it as well, and kind of potentially both ways of looking at it. And yeah, I just thought that was a really interesting idea, and I'm going to go and think about that and use it for
You can reference me again. Oh yeah.
You said you didn't have links for a university, get to search databases, links at work meeting we can become a visiting or something and get access.
Yeah, I could. I have all my friends have PhDs, and they're always like, "You should come study." I'm like, "Nah." But yeah.
Just like get a visiting thing to use it.
Yeah.
It's crazy that the resources.
And when I absolutely, yeah, no, that's true. Yeah. And I should do that. And I'll do that when I have more time. But yes, no, that is true. I can do it. It's just an excuse. Yeah, that's just an excuse.
Do you want to thank Leesa?
Thank you.